Summary of 10 Days to Faster Reading. 10 Days to Faster Reading is the result of America's #1 speed reading expert teaming up with the Princeton Language Institute. Over the span of 10 days, it encourages you to run various reading experiments, so you can figure out which bad reading habits you have to let go of, which good ones will help you, and what reading techniques you've already mastered. Whether you think you lack the time, the attention, or the memory to properly read, this book gives you a stretch of rope to hold onto and pull yourself out of the hole. Here are 3 lessons to help you become a better reader. Don't just read everything, be picky and ask some questions first. Preview everything you read. Focus on important keywords to grasp sentences without reading them. Lesson 1. Be restrictive with what you read by asking these 2 questions. Just like true productivity doesn't mean doing everything, but doing it faster, being a prolific reader doesn't mean reading everything that lands in front of you. The easiest way to read more is to read less of the stuff you don't need to. Reading is food for the mind, and just like a good diet requires you to take responsibility for what you put in your mouth, you'll also have to stand up for what you put in your brain. The authors suggest you ask yourself 2 crucial questions before ever reading anything longer than a tweet. Why am I reading this? Why do I need the information that's in here? The first question helps you figure out if you're just servicing someone else's request, or your own desire of being able to say I have read that. For example, just because you failed to read the 2014 industry report for the past 2 years does not make it relevant now, so you might as well toss it. The second one digs into whether you'll actually use what you read. For example, a scientific paper that might help you solve an important problem one of your clients has should probably take precedence over your child's homework review, especially if your kid is already an A student. Lesson 2. Subject everything you're about to read to a preview. It might be enough. This won't work with fiction books, but for everything non-fiction, it helps a lot. By getting an overview of what a book or article is about, you'll get a better sense of the bigger picture and figure out which parts will be relevant for you to read in the first place. Just like you don't have to read everything that ends up in your hands, you don't have to read everything that's in whatever you do decide to read. Here's how: read the title, foreword and text on the back flap, followed by skimming the index. Then, leaf through the chapters and look at the headings and subheadings. Read the first sentence of paragraphs or chapters that seem interesting. After doing this, you'll already have a good sense of what's about to come, which makes you less likely to have to reread lines and paragraphs as you go through. According to the authors, previewing can give you up to 40% of the information, and sometimes that's all you need. For example, a book like The One Thing has one predominant and specific message, which you can get in 5 minutes flat. That doesn't make the rest of the book bad or unnecessary, but depending on the time and place, it might be all you need for now, until you return to the book later. Lesson 3. Focus on important keywords to grasp sentences without reading them. You could look at the entire lesson above and instantly tell me what its core takeaway is, without reading a single sentence. Why is that? Because I've bolded the most important keywords. Just by taking a glimpse at the paragraph above, you'd instantly recognize that looking at title, foreword, back flap text and index give you a great preview of a book. Usually, our eyes jump around while reading, but by following a constant stream of keywords, you can read more fluently. These keywords are often longer than 3 letters and carry the meaning of the sentence. This is easier in texts with highlighted parts, like this summary, but with a little training you can employ this method even without particular visual guidance. 10 Days to Faster Reading argues that speed reading is not an untrainable talent. Instead, you can significantly improve your speed reading by merely cutting out bad habits, adding some new techniques and changing your mindset. The simplicity of these techniques makes speed reading seem less like a superpower and more like a valuable tool easily attainable. Remove your bad reading habits. As well as following the 3 steps to take the pressure off, removing bad habits will also prepare you for more efficient reading. Marks Beale starts by outlining what she means by a habit. A habit is something done enough times it has become second nature. Although habits can have a positive impact, they can also negatively affect your reading. Passive daydreaming. The first bad reading habit that Marks Beale introduces is passive daydreaming. This habit involves thinking about other topics while you are reading. To remove this habit, you should replace it with active mind wandering. This type of thought process involves connecting the information from your reading material with your own experiences. It is acceptable to let your mind go down the path of remembering an experience that reminds you of something you have just read in the book. Regression. Regression involves rereading information you have just read. Regression is often associated with passive daydreaming or simply insufficient concentration. Marks Beale suggests covering the text you've just read to stop this from happening. For example, you could use a business card. Place the business card on the piece of text you have just read. Covering the text gives you time to consider whether you understand what you just read. This time will prevent you from automatically regressing to previously read information. Subvocalize. Subvocalization is the act of mouthing along to the words you read or verbalizing them in your head. Marks Beale points out that the brain can process approximately 400 words per minute. That said, when we subvocalize, we are limiting ourselves to our talking speed. This speed is considerably lower at an average of approximately 150 words per minute. To prevent subvocalization, you can focus on the keywords and skip over the rest of the words. You can also chew some gum or hum while reading. These actions prevent subvocalization and help speed up your reading to match their rhythms. Read between the lines and use indenting. The second speed reading technique is also a way of tackling subvocalization. Marks Beale recommends reading between the lines. This doesn't mean you are trying to find meaning when it is not clearly stated. The author is talking about the physical space between lines of text. Focusing on the white space just above each line will mean you can only see the top half of the letters. This approach will prevent you from fixating on specific words and force you to identify meaning without getting stuck on any words. 10 Days to Faster Reading covers Marks Beale's years of speed reading experience. The result is a book that tells you what to do before reading, the bad habits to cut out, the simple techniques to use, and how to consolidate after reading. To summarize these points, you need to cut out the pressure of reading everything and doing so in your free time. Passive daydreaming and losing concentration. Regression or rereading information you have already read. Mouthing or saying the words in your head as you read them. Start preparing by identifying a purpose and reading the contents page and index of the book. Only reading the keywords or thought groups. Reading between the lines to help you use your peripheral vision. Using a finger or pen to guide your reading to prevent erratic eye movements. Prime yourself by reading summaries like this, so you notice information when reading the full book. Take notes to improve comprehension and retention. Think of ways to apply information to your life.